I looked at Hilga Clark years ago and looked at her frequency generating device. I'm not sure I know what's meant by her synchrometer, though.
The synchrometer is basically, in essence, it's just a device that measures the resistance through the body. But what happens is she modified it, and she attached a couple of plates to it. And what happens is she would measure the resistance through the system, and then she would just put a substance on one of the plates. And if that substance is available in the system, in the body, the system would produce a sound that is higher than the normal, because it would resonate, because the substance is available in the body. That's basically it. It does a couple of other functions, but that's the concept, which is basically connected to Lakhovsky's and Drone's work.
Right. In electrical terms, charge coupling is possible, not just by simple frequency resonance, but when that resonance is centripetal and embedded, then you get a more massive charge coupling phenomena.
I know, it's amazing because it's so simple, and yet you can just get, for example, a microscope slide of a certain parasite, and just by putting that slide on one plate and just measuring the resistance through the body, you would know if this parasite is present or not. So what's amazing about that is how little of the substance tested you need in order to measure whether it's available or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I find that interesting, and I will enjoy studying that more. I found that when people simplified her frequency administration device to eliminate parasites, they didn't get the electrical engineering very well.
Mm-hmm. I tried using her frequency generator on a live bacteria. It didn't do anything. I asked her at the time, and she mentioned that the frequency generator seems to work inside the body, but it doesn't seem to work outside it. What seems to work outside is, the work of Royal Rife in the 30s, where he directed the electromagnetic field of a specific frequency onto substances, viruses, and bacteria, and he was able to explode them by finding the exact frequency of their membranes.
I studied the Raymond Royal Rife material for years with some of the world's leading academics, and came to believe that the frequency signatures in almost every case were broad spectral RF and virtually never a single RF frequency. And that is an indication of the need for cascading and the generation of centripetal forces.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, coming to Constable. A device as simple as the Cloudbuster is able to manipulate the sky in mere minutes. How would you put that in technical terms? I'm aware that Reich has a theory for that, which Constable later on just he put the exact opposite of, in terms of either sucking orgone from the atmosphere or just shooting orgone into the atmosphere. I would like to hear your technical...
Yes, my consistent opinion has been that orgone is an unfortunate term, because people who use the word become allergic to electrical engineering because they think they have a better word, and in fact, all they have is alienation. But not that research wasn't useful. The research was very useful, but the language was unfortunate, in my view. So, in my view, orgone is a name for when the charge field becomes centripetal due to phase conjugation, actually. And so, very simply, in Trevor Constable's Weather Engineering in the High Seas, the angle of the cone capacitor, and the capacitor is the correct term, which most made rain, was a 60-degree cone. And we know precisely why, because that's the stellation of the dodeca that makes the implosion angle for charge flux. It's why the S3 dodeca is Poincare symmetry for gravity. So precisely the right capacitor to make the charge line centripetal. And of course, the water vapor is going to follow the charge lines. It's obvious. So basically, if you're seeding a cloud to make rain and you capacitively charge the little crystals first, you make more rain. So eventually you don't need the little crystals, you just make the electric field. Uh-huh. If you know the symmetry of the electric field that becomes centripetal, you know how water vapor forms droplets. Simple physics. It's not magic.
Uh-huh. But Reich also mentioned that he just formed a war with unidentified crafts in the air. And he was able to bring them down through the use of this cloudbuster.
Well, it's true that massive plasma bleeding would be exactly what would bring down the capacitive thrusters of any intelligent species using capacitive fields to make gravity. So the same reason the Roswell crash happened, because of an electric storm. It makes total sense. I don't find anything mysterious about it.
It's not about being mysterious. It's about how huge the energy that you'd be doing using a very simple thing, I've tried it myself a couple of times using just generic tubes and water, and literally you would be able to change the sky above in mere minutes. And
yes. A lot has to do with where the tubes are placed, if the plasma there is already centripetal, etc. And if you arrange them in a symmetry and place them on a nodal array that has symmetry with respect to the Earth grid, there's a lot of ways to. That's basically what the Druids were doing when they designed that, So it's basically a matter of manipulating large fields of plasma by that portion of the field which is centripetal and at the throat of the vortex.
So it's just about. Sorry.
Getting to the seed of the fractal.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's just about aligning the charge in a correct fashion, and that's how.
That's a name for all of physics, aligning the charge.
Amazing. Okay. I would like to ask you about something quite different, which concerns the use of symbolism, the use of what we would call Enochian magic in the media. I would like to get that from you in technical terms.
Well, we did a pretty good summary of that at goldenmean.info/ophanim. Mm-hmm. And it's clear that the symmetry of the plasma clouds that inhabit vast star systems that we call angels are plasma bodies that are fractal and centripetal. And the elements of symmetry used to assemble those field effects systematized as the hypercube became the shadow of the plasma domains called Ophanim Enochian, high order magic. It's how angels get bodies the same way we do, by assembling plasma and elements of symmetry. So we have a pretty good summary of that on the web. Is there anything in addition you had in mind, or?
No, I just wanted. I didn't see the one on your web. I'll definitely read it.
It's about John Dee and his mathematics of the hypercube, and how Vincent Bridges found the hypercube symmetry in the Ophanim Enochian alphabet, origin of Greek and possibly Cherokee, and why that's the physics of the highest form of magic on Earth today. Basically, if you assemble your living plasma field into the symmetry set of the vortex shadows of the hypercube, which is really dodeca in my view, that you become centripetal on the scale of star systems, and that's how angels talk. It's simple. And so you can steer storms the size of continents, and there's a certain responsibility to that.
Yeah, I've heard you once talk about steering the tornadoes, and what I understood is just the key to that is just understanding how to consume the anger of the tornado, consume that energy that's steering the tornado. And probably that can only be done if you have a certain amount of bliss, which you can direct and work with.
Yeah, bliss is the name for the charged radiance that results from fractality, which is perfect connectivity. And obviously what's called eating the anger in physics, urge to touch turns to anger by definition, especially in teenagers. What that means is, they didn't have the opportunity to touch fractal symmetry, and so their body is starving for plasma inertia. So consuming the anger means to give them the key to the symmetry that can restore embedding and therefore charge circulation.
Would you say that this thing which we call anger is the same thing that was referred to as the opposite of this blissful state? for example, the D orgone. I don't have the right terms, but I hope I'm giving you that.
Well, in the Centric study of the waveform for anger versus love, love was 1 over golden ratio. Anger was 1 over 7, which is the perfect ratio to create destructive wave interference. So, urge to touch frustrated turns to anger means that young boys, if they can't make love, they start killing. It's very simple physics because it's actually an urge to destroy themselves.
So in terms of energy, would you put them opposing each other?
I would say they're engaging in the wave mechanics of destructive wave interference, which is ultimately only self-destructive. That's why anger is by definition unsustainable. Because it's the perfection of destructive wave interference. Very good for clearing the money changers out of a temple, but if you're going to use some anger, expect to weaken your own aura in the process.
It's quite apparent that, especially in the time being, you would see a lot of people are going in the direction of finding alternative means for example, health and energy, because we can see clearly the flaws in the conventional systems we're following. It's my deep belief that, for example, if you had a solution and you wanted to present that to people, you wouldn't be able to do that unless the people are ready to take it. A lot of great scientists have provided amazing solutions, and we have managed to miss and fail to see them every single time, and we even opposed and vandalized. So what's your advice for the best thing to do in order to create that state of awareness, that state of bliss for people, in order to be able to be good recipients for this, for such?
Well, it's pretty simple. We articulated the hygiene for bliss in the first book, Ecstasy and Immortality, goldenmean.info/conscious kids. Obviously, you need live food and yoga and a charge dense environment and deep breathing and everything required to get your aura charge dense. And then, of course, you have access to implosion, and the bliss is the final form of education.
Yeah, just follow nature.
Well, yes, but I mean some discipline with respect to diet, deep breathing, and living only in live air and not living in dead environments. All the yogis who got to be hundreds of years old, they all did it in a cave. Not one of them did it in a city. It's because it doesn't mean that a fractal city is not possible. It's just that on this planet we're too stupid.
Well, these are my written questions.
I would really, I think I sound a little impatient today myself, and I have to say that I'm in the middle of four different messes having to do with most of the technology challenges today. So I'm a little bit pressed for having to do some dances here. I would be pleased to chat another time, though. I'm actually normally not this busy, but today it got complicated. So why don't we have another chat another time, even next week is whatever. I'm pretty flexible. Just today suddenly got complicated for me.
No, of course. Anytime I'd be happy to.
Well, good. So why don't you think about that? Maybe assemble a few more questions, and next week, most any day is good for me.
Excellent.
Okay.
Amazing. Okay.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.